This is a unique one, guys. You never know what tool in your shop is going to be the one that's right for the project you're working on. Today, this mid-70s Ludwig snare is the key to the problem that we need to solve, in that we're working on building a dining room table for a rustic cabin type environment, and some of the trim work on the outside of the house has these angles that are going to be a part of it, and they want to have a nice little curve in here. So what we're going to do is we tried to match that curve exactly to what we needed. We tried a glue bottle, a paint bucket, a trash can, everything. The thing that fit the bill best for the radius. Good old everyday snare drum. So let me show you how we're going to make a template so we can make 8 of these things exactly the same every time. We're going to go over here, and I've cut our template the same length as our board's going to be. We're going to mark that for the center. So we're at 16. We're at just short of 8 inches for the center of it. We're going to put the square up here and get our center lined up on there. Like that. And then we're going to take our good old everyday snare drum here, and we're going to set it on there, and we're going to bring this out. Let's do it on that side so you guys can see it. We're going to bring that to our center line, and we want to have about the same distance on each side of that center line as we can. So we're going to be about there, and we're going to hold this down. We're going to trace our rim there. And let's take a look at it and see if that gave us the outline that we want for our piece. That's pretty darn close right there. Might be a little bit shy over on this side compared to this side. So we got 3 inches there, and we got 2.5 there. So we're going to move that over just a touch before we actually cut it out. Let's put our back on there. Let's get it over there like that. A little bit deeper maybe. I would agree. So let's come this way just a touch. Like that. Let's see what that gives us. I like that second one a little better. We're at 3 there, and we're at 3 there. So that's the line that we want to have. We're going to go and get rid of this one. Get rid of that. So what I'm going to do is we're going to cut that out. And then when we have that pattern, we can set it onto our piece here. Draw it on there, and we're going to cut this on the bandsaw. Then we'll sand it down with our drum sander, and we'll make that nice and clean. So every time we put it on, we'll get exactly the same marking. So let's run over to the bandsaw, and let's cut this out and get that to line up real nice. We'll get the fence out of the way here. We're going to cut that. We're going to get it close. And then we're going to sand down for perfection, but we'll get it close to start with. So let's go about there. I'm leaving a little bit of that line so that I can see where I'm sanding. Right there's our pattern. Come out nice and smooth. Our ends are nice and even. So let's put that on there just as a starting point. See about where we want that to be. I want that to come in flush on the ends and about 1 inch in from each end. We'll trace that around there. That's going to give us the pattern that we want right there. Same thing every time. Let's make this arc in here. Let's make that perfect by running it through a little bit of a drum sander here, because what we're going to do is we're going to attach this to the top of our board, and then we're going to run this through the router table with a patterning bit on it. So it'll follow that pattern perfectly. So they'll all be uniform, consistent, and nice and straight on this. In my drill press here, I've got my pneumatic sanding cylinder put in there, so I can change how hard it is by putting air into it, taking air out of it, what have you. That's going to give us the opportunity to sand our curve here, make that nice and even. All we're going to do is go through and just sand that, make it consistent. It sands it down nice and smooth, plus it conforms to the edge of the board a little bit. We are back from sanding our arc over on the drill press. What I want to do is I want to be able to attach these pieces down below so that when I set my piece on the wood that we're going to cut, and when I set the fixture on there, it's going to set in the same place every single time. So what I did is I figured out how far back from the front I need that to be. I'm just going to glue these spacers on there so that when I put it up against the face of my board, it's going to land in the same place every single time. So a little bit of glue. As my buddy, the bearded Viking always says, we're going to add a dab of glue. So there we've got our little dab of glue on there. We're going to rub that in, call it a rub joint, starts creating that bond. Then we're just going to clamp it in place, make sure it's nice and parallel with the front of our board. Same thing over here. We're going to rub that joint to get it started. And clamp this on there. Lock it into place. And literally, we're going to give this about 10 minutes to set up, and we'll be able to turn it over and trace our first pattern onto our object piece, then we'll cut it out on the bandsaw. So now that our glue is dry on our template, we can pop the clamps off. We can simply turn this over, line up our center line on the center line of our piece, and with these on the front spacing it back, we know that they're spaced perfectly every single time. We're good here. We're just going to trace this out like that, and that will be the pattern that we're going to cut. First thing we're going to do, we're going to go over to the bandsaw, we're going to slice that out, then we'll clean it up on the router table with a patterning bit, and we'll have 8 of these perfect every single time, easily duplicated. So with that in mind, let's go make some sawdust. At the bandsaw, it's time to make sawdust. We've got our line there. We're going to leave that in place just a little bit so we can kind of see where we're going. It sure does make a difference having a good sharp bandsaw blade. There we go. That gives us the outline of what our end product is going to look like. And what we'll do, when we come back later on this afternoon, we're going to set this on there. We're going to line it up, we're going to clamp it on there, and we'll get a patterning bit that'll ride right on the inside edge of our pattern here, and it'll take this face off, and it'll make it perfectly smooth, perfectly consistent with that arc every single time.